member of NATO.
There's somebody right at the back.
Yes. Thank you very much. Goedemiddag.
Goedemiddag. Bent u Nederlands?
Ja, zeker.
How did you end up here? Tell me.
I'm an exchange student from the Netherlands, from
Fantastic.
Utrecht.
And why did you decide for this fantastic institution?
Because, I don't know, I want to go to Central Europe, because I have lived in Western... I'm sorry everyone, Central Europe.
Central Europe.
Central Europe, I'm sorry. I've lived in Western Europe all my life, and I'm very interested in the European Union, and I want to know what life is here.
Great.
Like.
How long are you here now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. So you have only 13 days more of experience of living in an area. Yeah.
So it's really, really cool to see you here, ex-Mr. President.
Yeah.
I have a question. It's a bit of a hypothetical one, but in the news you see that Zelensky and Trump are a bit arguing. Trump called Zelensky a dictator. Do you think it's likely that Trump will make a deal with Putin without Ukraine's support? And if Ukraine doesn't support it, what should the European Union do next, in your opinion? Thank you.
Well, of course, Ukraine has to be part and will be part, and the US has said this, of peace negotiations, because it's about their country. So I'm really not worried there. They will be part of that. But it only started, I mean, a couple of days ago. So it is so early stage. And I have confidence in the team in the US negotiating this. But no doubt Ukraine will be involved in peace talks. Absolutely.
Thank you. So I would like to ask a question. Is it possible that Slovakia would be excluded from closer negotiations because of our pro-Russian government, in the case it's needed to do so? It's a bit of a question.
You would be excluded from what?
From negotiations, some closer negotiations in NATO.
No, let me make perfectly clear. In NATO and in the EU, you not always agree. In the end, you do agree. It takes time sometimes, you negotiate, etc. But many countries will start from many different points of view, and then you will gradually come together. Slovakia is one of the most integrated, I think the most integrated country compared, a bit the same like the Netherlands. You are part of the EU, Schengen, the Eurozone, NATO. You are actively participating in all those formats and structures, highly respected. So I don't think that worry is warranted. No, not at all.
Good afternoon, Secretary General.
Hi.
As a Ukrainian, in the context of game theory...
You're Ukrainian?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm interested especially in the context of game theory in political science. How does NATO assess the ongoing war in Ukraine as a strategic interaction between Russia, NATO and Ukraine? Specifically, how do you evaluate the payoff structures and potential Nash equilibria in this scenario, considering the escalation risk and deterrent strategies?
Of course, NATO is not part of the conflict, but NATO, through the command in Wiesbaden, is coordinating the training and the military equipment coming into Ukraine, and through JTEC, the center in Poland, collectively we're capturing all the lessons. But it is up to individual allies and countries outside NATO, bilaterally with Ukraine coming to security agreements. I mean, my country and many other countries have drawn up bilateral security agreements with Ukraine. And I think that is very important. But to your question, of course, it is first of all an unprovoked Russian onslaught on your country. Starting in 2014, and then the full-scale war breaking out next Monday 3 years ago, with hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the border, killed, seriously wounded. It is unbelievably sad when you think about it, and so many beautiful cities in Ukraine being seriously damaged and having to be rebuilt. So the cost of all of this is enormous, but it is your country fighting for its survival and for its sovereignty. That is between you and Russia. But we also have to acknowledge that Russia is working with others, with North Korea, with China, and with Iran. So when a peace deal is reached on Ukraine, let's make sure that one Xi Jinping, the first secretary of the Communist Party of China, will be watching this and will be interested in the outcome. And if it is a weak deal for the West, he might think of some next steps himself in the Pacific. So all the theaters, as so-called, Northern Euro-Atlantic and in the Pacific, they are more and more connected.
Thank you. Can I give you one more question?
Please. You have the microphone, so you have the power.
What advice would you give to the future generation of Ukrainian leaders?
Well, first of all, it's not up to me. I can only say I have the highest respect for what Ukraine is doing and enduring. You have, from day one, been fighting, where Putin would think in 3 or 4 days you would have to give in to him, and you didn't. You fought back. You were able to capture back large parts of the country Putin originally was able to capture in February 2022. We all remember that famous video President Zelensky made when he was offered a right to Poland to get into safety. And that he said, I don't need a right, I need ammunition. And then he came out of the presidential palace saying, I'm here with the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, the Chief of the Military, myself, the President. We are all here, and that was a rallying call, I think, to the whole of Ukraine. And one of the most moving short clips I have ever seen. In all its simpleness, extremely effective, because it showed the leadership, not only of the senior leaders in Ukraine, but also of the general population. But for the young people in Ukraine, I mean, I wish for you this war to end as soon as possible. And then you will have to rebuild the country. But you will have so many stories to share about how proud soldiers and proud citizens have withstood this Russian onslaught. That I hope you will be very proud, that you will share those stories and they will go down the generations. And of course that you will build your future and will have happy lives and really be integrated as you wish in the Euro-Atlantic structures like the EU and NATO. I really wish that for your country.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your answer.
We will take one more question.
Good afternoon. I would like
Hi,
to ask...
are you also from the Netherlands?
No, I'm
No,
also...
no.
But my sister lives in the Netherlands. She found a Dutch guy.
Very good.
Do you think that increasing the contribution of the countries might lead to their withdrawal from NATO, especially considering the misinformation campaigns? Thank you.
Again, I missed the first half of the question because the microphone was a bit too high.
If you think that increasing the contribution of the countries might lead to their withdrawal from NATO?
No, I don't think any country will withdraw from NATO. Why would they? I mean, we are a collective defense. We are the strongest, the most powerful defense corporation in the world's history. I mean, yeah, if you want to withdraw, you can. It is a democratic organization. Nobody will stop you. But I've not spoken to any leader who wants to leave NATO. No, people want to join. Countries want to join. Nobody wants to leave. But being in NATO, we have to make sure that it is not one paying more than the rest. And at the moment, of course, what we see is that the US is about a little bit more than 50% of overall NATO economy, but is paying much more than 50% of the overall NATO defense spending. And we see some countries on the eastern flank, like Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia, but also Poland, really ramping up now defense spending. We see other countries now rapidly following, like Sweden and Denmark. I'm hearing some encouraging signals from other countries, maybe even yours, here in Slovakia, but not up to me to make any announcements. But that gives me hope that we will get to a much higher number to reach with a credible time path at the The Hague summit to decide on that. And not because Donald Trump wants this. Yes, also because he is right that America should have a fair deal. But because we want to protect ourselves. And we know, as I said in my short introductory remarks, we cannot defend ourselves going forward given the rapid ramp-up of defense spending and production in Russia. So we have to do it. We all have to do it to make sure that we maintain our deterrence, that he will never, ever try again to capture 1 square mile or kilometer of Ukraine, but also not to capture any square mile or kilometer of any NATO country whenever he would wish so. That he knows that he was the full onslaught of all of us on Russia. And therefore we have to remain strong, and that is why we need more spending. Please help me there. Tell your politicians to do this. Tell your banks and pension funds that they can invest in defense. I really need you as ambassadors here. That's why I'm here. I mean, you thought I was here for you. No, you are here for me. You are from now on my ambassadors to make this happen. And thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us here. Thank everybody for coming. I'm really thankful that you provided a sense of reassurance to many people. I know that...
And urgency, I hope.
Definitely. I know there are many people from Ukraine in the audience, and I think they really appreciate your reassurance. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for linking in your speech Jan Amos Comenius, and we really appreciate that you really mentioned his. And we would just like to ask you to do a signature in our guest book before we say goodbye.
Make one final remark to the students. Thank you for being here, first of all. And maybe one advice. I've always lived my life in the assumption that it is easier to ask for forgiveness afterwards than for permission up front. So take some risks. And when you have strong ideas, follow them, even if you have many seniors telling you can't. Because potentially you might be right. And if not, at least you learn something. So really enjoy your life, enjoy your studies here. Let's stay together and make sure that we do strange things with our talents. That makes the whole world better.
Thank you.